Welcome to High Oracle's Reiki Spiritual Healing Channel. And I have been giving you some of those clients who have requested help from me. Some of the clients who have been able to do the work themselves. And they are able to take direction from me. And they have been successful. One of my clients asked me, had I ever lost a client? And I've lost two clients. Because these two clients decided that they wanted to stay on their own path and do the things that they had been doing. They didn't want to come out of addictions, and one of them was my second husband. So, and the other was a good friend of mine from Cincinnati. And, I had decided early on that some people you just cannot help, especially when you have people that have attachments, that have a broken spirit, okay? And they stayed in that low vibrational state. And I'm going to give you an example with this case. When I lost my good friend from Cincinnati, hold on, that's the ice cream truck. So when I lost my good friend from Cincinnati and he did not want to change, my initial assessment of his situation, I understood that, he was stuck in a certain type of mentality because he was a Vietnam vet, and he had drilled all of his teeth to keep from going to war. So these are some of the ways that we understand when a person has problems. When a person has problems and they don't want to change, or they cannot change because they've reached a certain age. So and many times that once you reach a certain age, and let's get this out the way, that once you reach that certain age and that entity has not left, you haven't worked on that entity to remove that entity from your life, your mind, your heart, then that entity is going to stay with you. It's going to feed off of you. And in the case where I lost this good friend of mine, he had open heart surgery, and from there he passed, and God rest his soul. And this is some of the ways that I like to make sure that my clients understand. And nobody knows when God is going to take us, but I have to give you the ins and outs. I have to tell you the truth, because once you have told me that you have been cleansing, or you have never cleansed, if you've been cleansing for 10 years, for 15 years with different practitioners, and you haven't seen a change in your situation, you haven't been able to remove the entity from your life, or it leaves and it comes back, then it is my job to let you know what the ins and outs are. It is my job to give you the best advice. And so, with a lot of people, they don't like, good advisors. So, because that will mean that you have to do something different. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. So one of the ways that I like to advise my clients, one of the ways that I give them the clarity and understanding that they need, is that in many cases, when you've gone to different practitioners, then it's a good chance that you are cross-conditioned. It's a good chance that, some of these people have higher spirits to siphon your finances, to siphon your health, okay? So when we start removing those types of negative entities away from you, and they have to go back not only to what you've been doing in what's been going on in your family, severing the frequencies from your past with past relationships, soul ties, trauma bonds, higher spiritual narcissists in your family, in your relationships. Okay. So once we start to do that and unravel all of this, clutter that is in your spirit, in your soul, your mind, and your health. Okay. A lot of people do not understand that takes, mind, body, and soul to remove those types of negative entities from your body, from your mind, from your immediate life. So this is what we have been talking about this week, and I have been giving you some of the examples of some of the people that I have been working on. A lot of them are successful in cleansing the negative energy and realigning with what God said in the book. And again, I just want to make sure that you understand, I didn't come to take the holy book away from you, because I believe in the Holy Bible. I believe in the Holy Bible, but we want to be able to move away from what the colonizers have given you in the church that has not worked for you at all. And so therefore I have to be the bearer of bad news, that you can't associate anything with God and expect for your rituals or your method to work. You're inviting, in actuality, you're inviting an entity into your life. And this has been the case for our parents. This has been the case for most of the people that I have to deal with. And I have to constantly remind them that, you can't go into fasting and associate something with God. So while I'm cleansing the negative energy and I'm standing in the gap, we're removing anything that's unclean, and that heavy spirit, that major demonic entity that is attached to the individual, you will determine whether it remains with you or not by being able to change your direction from what the colonizers have given you to what your forefathers, your parents have given you, as an understanding, as a spiritual practice, that they've hired negative entities in order to trap you and hijack your life from the very beginning. 756, as I'm saying this. Okay. So they've hired the negative entities in a certain manner, using certain verses, and for you to undo this negative attack upon your life, the negative attack upon your children's life, is to undo the belief that the entity will have you believe. And in reality, the entity wants to take you with him. He wants to take you into the descent into hell. So we have to make sure that we're breaking those strongholds over our mind that our forefathers have given us. And if it is the only thing that we have to do is to disassociate what our forefathers have given us that has not been working for us. Okay. If it's not working for you, then why keep, trying to implement it? Why keep trying to give it to your next generation? And you're getting the curse from that because you see that it's not working for you, and it has not worked for generations before you. So, why not, trust God? Why not put your stock in God? Why not, adhere to the word of God? When he says he's a jealous God, that means just that. That means just that, you will have no other God before the Lord thy God. Okay. And people, some of the people, they get upset with me because they want to say that I'm coming from the Holy Quran when I'm showing them everything that they need to understand, you can keep your book. I don't have to pick up the Holy Quran, although I am going to pray over you. And we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to pray over you with the Holy Quran. But everything that I teach, if you say that you're a Christian, everything that I teach you is coming from the Holy Bible. And a lot of people do not understand, or they misinterpret the book, so that, they can stay in ignorance. And this is why a lot of people are defeated, because they want to keep implementing the ways of the ancients, the way that they've been taught. Because to say that, a new way, the way that I have implemented and outlined, your spiritual healing journey, to say that it's working for you better than any other, or you feel the negative energy leaving you better than any other time that you have done a spiritual cleanse, or have gone to some other practitioner, that wasn't a spiritual healing practitioner, okay? Then you would have to admit then that there is something wrong with what the colonizers and enslavers have given your parents, and what you have accepted as a doctrine. Okay, so this is the main problem, that they say that I disrupt their beliefs. And I'm not trying to disrupt your beliefs. I'm trying to make sure that you understand who your enemy is. The avowed enemy, Satan. He didn't come here to make sure that you were happy, or that you received the right information. Do you think that he would give your parents the right information, and they would treat you with the utmost respect and pass that on to you? They passed on to you what they knew. That's what they knew. That's what they understood. Okay. And when you talk to our parents, a lot of them do not have the right understanding of the holy books. They were accepting what the preachers were saying. Okay. And we have to understand that we have to break away from letting someone interpret for us. I'm going to give you the book, and I'm going to give you the passages that's going to cleanse your situation, and you're going to be able to read it from the Holy Bible yourself. So this is how we are understanding what makes a client successful or not. This is what we have been discussing. If you have an understanding of how to cleanse yourself, then again, I'm gonna let you make it. There's some people that they just want the gift sent to them, and they send me the $200, and I send them a gift that I don't have to give them instructions. I do not have to work with them week by week in order to cleanse it, and I don't have to give them an understanding that you do not associate something with God, that Jesus is not God. You cannot find three in a Trinity in the holy books. Okay, so this is something that was given to you by the enslavers, the colonizers, so that you would go down with them. You would be on that descent. Your parents would pass on to something that they had no knowledge of. So, this is where I am. This is what makes some of my clients successful. And a lot of you get it. A lot of you have been getting it. There are a lot of people in that's stubborn, in that age range, 60, 55, 60, that's stubborn, and they don't want to understand, because that would mean that they have been worshiping something wrong all of their life. And so God is always forgiving. So I have to break it down, why I have to let people know what makes some clients, successful at cleansing, removing their negative energy from them, breaking curses, removing those higher spirits, and what makes some of my clients, descend into a shell, where they shut down, into a depression, into violent speeches into, not being able to move forward in their cleansing, because now we understand that the entity has taken over when it doesn't want you to hear or understand that you cannot associate anything with God on a spiritual healing journey, that, he is the Alpha and Omega. And, said, you shall not have any other God but the Lord thy God. And that is what it is meant. And that's what he means. And I hope you received this message. So please like, share, and subscribe to me. Book your consultations. If you're serious, book your consultations. Okay? Like, share, and subscribe. Donate to my channel. Make sure that you're reaching out to me, booking your one-on-one life coaching sessions. When we are in a session, it's not for a debate, how you want to implement my practice. So, make sure that this is what you want to do. You want to cleanse the negative energy, and you want to get away from what has not worked for you in the past. Okay. So please, again, make sure you like my videos, share them, and reach out to me. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.